The purpose of this video, the purpose of this research is to understand the patterns and the cycles that we are dealing with and going through in this Western world. Specifically looking at this Western world, Western society, that means from America to Europe, that connection, because all of that is based on a certain calendar. It's all based on that 0 AD, BC. It's based on Western astrology. It's a specific cube that we are looking at so that we can understand ourselves better. And may I be a vessel for a piece of the puzzle. And right now in this Aquarian age, the beautiful thing is we're all beautiful pieces to the puzzle. And we just keep building on each other so we can see the full picture, because the truth is what we're understanding is so much of what we've been told all of our life is complete bullcrap. Except for love and those people that loved you and who you've loved. That's real. That's the most powerful thing. That is truth. But there's some things where, and I'm not even putting anything negative on it. I'm just saying that the purpose of this research is to see the patterns and see if we can make sense of it and understand now. So the patterns that we're going to be looking at is Saturn conjunct Jupiter, and then leading up to Saturn conjunct Pluto. Saturn conjunct Jupiter and Saturn conjunct Pluto. And the reason why I'm saying Saturn conjunct Jupiter, because you should say Jupiter conjunct Saturn. You're supposed to say the fastest moving planet first, which is Jupiter. But since the common denominator of really what we're looking at is Saturn, I'm going to say Saturn conjunct Jupiter a lot of times. Saturn conjunct Jupiter and Saturn conjunct Pluto, specifically Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Why Capricorn? Because Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So it gives us even more Saturn. Like it just really hones it in on Saturn. And Saturn is the power structures. It's the powers that be. It's the authority. It's the structures of, say, the political power in this world, the structures of corporate power, the structures of military power. It's the corporation. It's entities and authorities that run society. It's people that you slightly kowtow to. It's almost like your grandparents in a way. Your grandfather is Saturn. It's the bones in your body, your teeth. It's your structure. It's the foundation. It's the square. It's the cube that we are on, in, controlled by. And that's the micro and the macro, meaning Saturn has a lot to do with, again, the structure of ourself and the discipline in ourselves, our work and integrity, just really the foundation of you. But it's also the bigger, again, the structure and the foundation of society. And it can be old age, so it can be death. It can be death. It's old age as well, Saturn is. What is Jupiter? What is Jupiter? Jupiter is culture, philosophy. It rules Sagittarius. So it's broad thinking, broad mind, the philosophy of the culture, the philosophy of the land, the vast land. It's international. It expands. It's abundant. It's the biggest planet. It's huge. Jupiter. In a lot of ways, it's magnanimous. It brings good. It brings greatness. But it expands whatever expands. So if it's expanding something negative, that's possible as well. Saturn conjunct Jupiter, also, let me continue with Jupiter. Jupiter's also the law. It's because it's the higher mind and higher learning and higher thinking. It's law. It's going to back to school, higher degrees. Can be religion. So when you have Saturn conjunct Jupiter, it really lays the foundation for the law of the land of that time, the culture, just the understood law of the land and what is controlling things and what you can see, the religion of it all, just the foundation of it all. Saturn conjunct Jupiter. Conjunction is when two planets are next to each other within 0 to 10 degrees. But when we're talking about transits like this, that what we're talking about in these videos are transits that are sometimes from every 20 years to every 500 years. Because it's so huge, I use the technique of Vedic and Sidereal. I really, really love Eastern astrology too. I love Eastern. What we do, what you see in the newspapers and magazines and everywhere, that's Western astrology. That's, dare I say, I don't want to, slightly more, I don't want to say Eurocentric because there are indigenous people everywhere, here in America and everywhere, in Europe and everywhere, but it's more Eurocentric, and I would say that Vedic Sidereal is more historic and it's more Eastern. Asian, ancient Asian techniques, Indian. I love Chinese astrology too. I love Mayan astrology, but that's America. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole. We are looking at here, we are looking at Jupiter conjunct Saturn here in this Western society, Western world. And if you put Jupiter and Saturn together, it gives you kind of the main feel and the main philosophy of the land of the time. And that's huge because, as many of you know, that's what's called a great conjunction. Saturn is conjunct Jupiter every 20 years. It lasts for 20 years. Oh, real quick to finish the point, because we're talking about transits that are 0 to 500 years, like Vedic, like Sidereal, if it's all in one sign, if the planets are in one sign, like I don't care if Saturn is at 0 degrees Capricorn and Jupiter is at 19 degrees Capricorn, it's still a conjunction because they are in the same sign and they are all ruled by Saturn. So all Saturn is getting all that emphasis, all that energy. It's a conjunction, especially again, since we're talking about transits in these videos that are from 20 to every 500 years. Okay. The reason why Saturn conjunct Jupiter is so important is because it's what's known as the Great Conjunction. Now, you heard a lot about it all this past year because in December 2020, we shifted into a great conjunction of air, Aquarius, December 2020, end of 2020 into 2021. We had a shift. Again, it only occurs every 20 years that there is a conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter together in the same sign. Because it's the law of the land, it's very important to look at it and see where it's going, because it does shift things. We can prove that. So, first of all, we can say starting around 2019, end of 2019, 2020, when this great conjunction happened and turned into air in Aquarius. Real quick, what is Aquarius? Aquarius is an air sign. It's communication, it's intelligence, it's a lot of information. Tons of information coming your way. That's Aquarius. It is a little chaotic, a little upside down, left and right, and just, it can be rebellious. It can be totally out of this world, something you've never seen. It could be astrology. It can be aliens, outer space, astronomy, weirdos. It's groups. It's your groups and associations. It's your individualized energy. The individualized uniqueness. Aquarian energy is your uniqueness, your individualized energy that once you find it, then you join your group. That's Aquarius. Aquarius is humanity. It's caring about your fellow man. It's you know the song, "This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius." You know that song? That's all about this utopic, beautiful land where we're all one and singing and dancing and community and everybody is taken care of. That's Aquarius. That's the high-end, beautiful energy of Aquarius, when everybody's individualized uniqueness is celebrated and we're all building a wonderful land together. That's the potential of Aquarius. The other end is complete chaos and madness and craziness and out of control. And in a lot of ways, in 2020, that's what it was. It was such a huge shift. And what's interesting, what's phenomenal about all of this is these great conjunctions, whatever, is it modality? Air, fire, whatever element they're in, it lasts for 200, 250 years. So now that it just went into Aquarius, it's going to be in air signs. That means Aquarius, Gemini, and what's the other? Libra. It's going to be in air signs for the next 200 plus years. And before, it was in earth signs, except for one exception. We'll talk about that. But for the most part, since America's inception, we have been in earth. We've been in earth for over 200 years. Earth signs. What are earth signs? Earth signs are more about practicality, discipline, and do your thing, and what do you need? What do you need to be here on this earth? Just basic needs. What's your work? What's your service? What do you eat? Agriculture. It's the basic needs to be here on earth. Aquarius, air signs, but especially Aquarius, the very last of the air signs, is not practical. It's not earth. It is, whoa, it is out of here. And what came right before this sharp turn to go Aquarius? We were in Taurus. We were in Taurus right before then. Taurus, again, it's earth, basic needs, food, sensuality, supersize me, reality shows, beauty, big houses, but also simplicity too. Yeah. But earth. Earth for 200 years. And then all of a sudden, we go into air, Aquarian air, outer space. People are falling out the car. They are falling off on this shift. It's huge. It's literally 90 degrees. Aquarius is 90 degrees from Taurus. It's what's known as a square angle. Whenever there's a square, it's such a push-pull, like it's just so off and it's hard to reconcile and find the balance. It's just, whoa. Sharp square, and it's just the beginning. We're really only in year one. We're only in year one of this new shift, this great conjunction. We're only in year one. What's coming with this great conjunction that's in Aquarius, and we have it for the next 20 years until like 2040, I believe, is when we switch to the next one. Well, first of all, we're going to get the next singularity. The next singularity, because you see us moving so fast. What I say the next singularity is, it's in Aquarius. So, This is where we have a choice in this world. Which Aquarian energy is it going to be? Is it going to be the Aquarian energy of oneness and community through nature, through being connected clairvoyantly and telepathically and transcending the obstacles and the boundaries of this existence and connecting with humanity on a level that we've never experienced before, and having abilities that we didn't even know, things being awakened inside of us, things that were suppressed, things that were hidden. It's having exposure to advanced technology that just blows our mind, but expands us and makes us even greater and greater and greater. It is a magical world. It is la la la. This is the dawning. It is a real reset into what feels right. Really. What really feels right? What is humanity? What is this world? What are our days really supposed to look like? That's what we have an opportunity in this next singularity. And it is a magical oneness and a supernatural out of this world opportunity that we have. That's the high end of the singularity. If it's too much control, what could that be? Too much authority, too much structure, too much corporate, too much of anything isn't good. Too much of la 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 isn't good. But too much of corporate and political and all those structures and them being out of whack. The main thing that I believe we're trying to be led to is a singularity of transhumanism. I do believe that, and that is connecting us to the computer. I see where that can be so amazing in theory, and all the things that we can do by being connected to the digital world like that, the technological world, one with it. But it really truly depends on the consciousness of the people that are doing it. And I don't have trust for them just yet. Partly to do with some of the research that we're going into today. But I just don't have that much trust in it. And I could be old-fashioned, and I could be too much of a no, I don't want to put anything negative on myself. I'm really trying to use my words consciously. From what I've seen when I've been able to detach from this matrix and go into the Amazon rainforest and unplug from so much of what this land of the Western world aspires to and says is the epitome of greatness. The truth is, out there in the jungle, with very, very meager, humble living conditions, I felt things that I never imagined. I saw things that I could have never, ever imagined. And all I wanted to do was transport everybody I knew to the forest so that they could feel that same thing. And the natural connection and oneness that was there with the people, with the animals, with nature. I believe that is the truth. And I don't believe everyone is capable. Again, I don't want to be negative, but perhaps there are some beings that are not capable of feeling that oneness. And so they want the oneness to happen through a computer. And they want to control through the computer. There's a lack of trust with nature and the world. And they want to control when I believe in another world. Yet I don't. And the purpose of this video is to help people to see that world that I believe in, that I know is real. That's what Aquarius is as well. Aquarius is I know. It's lightning bolt knowledge of information, of intuition, of just knowing. Knowing in your soul, whatever it is. Sometimes it's just sudden bolts of knowing. Sometimes it comes with time and you just know, and there's not even a question. The negative end of that is you see all this Aquarian energy, people, groups fighting all day right now because of this I know, I know. Everybody knows. Every group knows. And they know it so passionately and so wholeheartedly. But there's so much information, such a deluge of information and such delusion and illusion and so much mystery and misinformation that is forming all these groups. And people are being pitted against one another. And if there is some energy that is trying to do that, or if it's just the nature of a sign of the times of going into this Aquarian energy, so be it. I feel it's a combination. I know it's a combination of people manipulating, knowing what this energy is about. And so they're manipulating the wave and the sine wave. They're manipulating the energy and how things are going, but also the wave. Sometimes it just goes that way innately, because there can be a negative serpent or sine wave that is just that infiltrates and perpetuates through our existence just as much as there is an energy and a sine wave going in another direction of such utter love. And I believe that wave of love, that connection, that Christ consciousness, that wave, because it expands so much, it wins. If there's such a thing as winning in this world. So hold on to the love, hold on to the good, hold on to the trust. It wins. So we can clearly see how things in this past year, we went into so much technology, so much information, so much Saturn in Aquarius as well, control of information, Jupiter in Aquarius, abundance of information, abundance of technology, talk of aliens, people going to outer space again, chaos, riots, Aquarian, so Uranus. Also, this is what's phenomenal to look at. So in astrology, because you're studying patterns, I'd say in classes, astrology classes, as much as 10 years ago, we knew this time was going to happen when the Great Conjunction was going to occur in Aquarius. And because Aquarius is technology, and then we could also see at the same time, Uranus is going to be in Taurus. Work with me here. Because if you're looking at a great conjunction in Aquarius, you have to look at Aquarius, whatever sign the great conjunction is, and then find the ruler. The ruler, what rules Aquarius? Uranus. Saturn as well, traditionally, on the low. But we're going to work with Western for the most part right now. And we're going to say how Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So we would see, well, where is Uranus over these next years? Where is Uranus with this great conjunction in Aquarius? If Uranus is the ruler, where is it? And it's in Taurus. What's Uranus in Taurus? Uranus is technology, shock, again, information, sudden jolts, but it's technology. What is Taurus? Taurus is the body. It's nature. It's the trees, but it's the body. So one huge possible manifestation of Uranus in Taurus, with this great conjunction happening with Jupiter conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, 10 years ago, we're in classes like, what's going to happen? What's going to be the result? So then we look and we see that Uranus is going to be in Taurus. One of the possible manifestations of that is Uranus, technology in Taurus, technology in the body. So technology in the body, this is 10 years ago when we're deep in Taurus. So we couldn't fathom it. We're like, how are they going to get technology in the body? No way. And people were throwing out microchips. They're going to microchip us. No, definitely. There has to be that. It's going to be that. How are they going to get us to take microchips? There's no way. There's no way. How are they going to do this? And we'd really sit and ponder and we'd brainstorm and we'd think about it. And then all of a sudden, in 2020, at this great conjunction in Aquarius, with Uranus and Taurus, It started that millions of people put mRNA technology in their bodies. Just like that. Couldn't believe it. That's how they did it. That's how. Didn't see that one coming. mRNA technology in the body of millions. Soon as that great conjunction hit, it began. It all began. Whoa. So this is why it's important to look at the pattern so you can just really see and study it and try to predict in the future, and you can see what's going on a little bit, perhaps. But we can only see but so much because there's still so much more that is hidden. Shout out Tartaria. Call me Tina Tartar. Shout out to the mud floods, perhaps. There are some people right now that are like, what the heck is she talking about? And then some people like, yeah! For some reason right there, I wanted to go, by the, but from masters of the universe, I have the power! She-man. I don't know why I wanted to do that. I don't know if I've ever done that. But that's what just came through. Kind of felt good. I recommend it. All right. So Jupiter conjunct Saturn. That's awesome. Sorry, Saturn conjunct Jupiter, because the common denominator in what we're doing in these videos right now is Saturn. So we just looked at what it looks like with Saturn conjunct Jupiter and Aquarius. You saw a little bit about how before that it was all earth signs, with one exception, real quick, with one exception. We did have in the 1980s, 1981, we did have one air. We did have one air great conjunction, and it lasted for 20 years. Air again, that's when technology and communications comes through, but especially communications, technology, especially Aquarius, but it's communications. And what happened in the 80s? All the computers, it all started in the 80s. And Microsoft, IBM, then we had the internet, all the singularities, the computer world, Nintendo, Atari, 1980. 1981, that's when we had a minute of air. We had a minute of air, and that's when all of that was launched. And then in 2000, we went back to Earth, but the air, everything that we had done from the air was still in the air, and we expanded on that, but we went back to Earth, and focusing on self. Needs, basic needs of Earth. And then here in 2020, we shifted to that air again, Aquarius. Now, Saturn conjunct Jupiter, if you look at all the planets in the sky and the order that they go, got Earth, you got Mercury, you got Venus, you got Mars, you got Jupiter, big old Jupiter. Then you have Saturn. And Jupiter and Saturn, those two big planets, they're still visible with the naked eye. It's still possible to see them. They're within the firmament. They're before you get to the firmament. They're within still. You can still see them with the naked eye. Telescopes, easy. But with the naked eye, it's before the firmament. And so what that means is, it's kind of like what you can see with the naked eye when you start looking at the examples of what life looks like, it's clear. It's like, that's definitely Saturn conjunct Jupiter in Aquarius and air. Yeah, we were definitely in Earth. Yeah, we definitely were in Taurus. You can see it clearly because you can see it clearly, and they are both basic foundations of our society, Saturn and Jupiter. They're the structure and the culture and the philosophy of our world, of our culture at that time. The law and the religion of the land. The main thing that is accepted. Well, not always accepted, I guess. But if those are what you can see, if Saturn conjunct Jupiter is what you can see as far as the structures and the powers that be, what's Saturn conjunct Pluto? Pluto. That's what we're trying to get to. We did all of that so that we could get right here. What's Saturn conjunct Pluto? Now, first of all, shout out to Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio. Co-ruler, Mars is the traditional old ruler of Scorpio in Eastern astrology, Vedic. But in the Western world, yes, Pluto is the ruler. But you can look at Mars too. But Pluto is the ruler. That's why it was so funny when a few years ago they tried to demote Pluto and say that it doesn't exist, it's not a planet, don't pay attention or whatever. I'm like, what? How you gonna tell me? I'm a Scorpio. That's the ruler of my Scorpio. How you gonna tell me my ruler don't exist? How you gonna tell me? I don't make any sense. I started getting bothered by a lot of things, especially right around then. I'm like, oh, so y'all just gonna change things. Y'all just gonna say, you know what, never mind. Anyway. So what's Pluto? What's Pluto? Since they tried to take her power away, or his power, what's Pluto then? You should always know, whenever they try to demote or take away somebody's power and suppress them, that's always a sign of, wait a second. Wait a second. So what's Pluto? Pluto is what's hidden. It's the underworld. It's what's hidden. The negatives, the underworld, the mafia, organized crime, death, mass control, mass manipulation. It's the masses, mass hypnosis. It's pestilence. It's viruses. Yes, Neptune can be disease 100%, but pestilence, viruses, plagues, masses like that, it's Pluto. It's Pluto all the way. Death, violent death. Again, massacres, just masses of blood. It's also the taboos, the negative of sexuality, because it's what's hidden. It can be the taboos of sexuality, what you don't talk about, the perversions, rape and abortion and, porn, or, what's it called with the kids? You know, all of that, everything that you just try to hide and suppress. What's a pedophilia? It's that all the underground hidden. Pluto can also be, I mean, what's mass terrible? Let's go to the positive. The Scorpio was getting a little too into what's the negatives of Pluto. Let's go to the positives of Pluto, okay? The positives of Pluto: healing, healers, transformation, complete transformation of a whole society, of the masses, for the good, upliftment, uprising of the masses, healing of the masses. It's the hidden, as far as astrology, the occult. Yes, astrology is also Aquarius, Uranus, but Pluto is it's the hidden magic. It's not what's clear. It's the energy underneath it all. It's your blood. It's your DNA. It's the bloodline for real. It's in the blood. It's the blood plasma, Pluto. It's literally the blood plasma. It's the blood, the DNA in that bloodline. It's the beauty of sex, the tantric sex, the deep, deep underground current of connection that is possible between two people. Pluto is amazing. But also complete obliteration, catastrophe of the masses. Yeah, it's all that. It's all that. So, if you have Saturn conjunct Pluto, Saturn is control, authority, your structure, the structures of society, discipline, powers that be, political, corporate, governmental, militarial. And Pluto's everything that we just said. Then what's Saturn conjunct Pluto? And more specifically, what's Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn? If it's in Capricorn, what it's in means how the energy is going to take place. You have those two planets. You have the Saturn and the Pluto. So you know who the two players are, what's going to be going on. You're going to have Saturn type stuff, structure, authority, government, all those things. But then you're going to have Pluto. What's Pluto? Power struggles, manipulation, maybe taboos, maybe massacres, maybe viruses, maybe mass healings, maybe mass transformation, maybe mass, oh, wow. Just such a healing of a society from an underground level, just really healing all those base needs and emotional needs, the things that are deep, 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 deep down inside. And connecting intimately, trusting. Pluto can be beautiful. So you have Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Because Pluto is only in a sign every 248 years, at the very earliest, every 248 years, Pluto comes back around. It finishes its orbit. So Pluto is going to be in Capricorn every 248 years. Saturn hits a sign every about 28 years, 28 to 30 years. Pluto stays in a sign anywhere from 14 to 20 something years. So sometimes during its orbit, when it hits Capricorn, when Pluto hits Capricorn once every 248 years, usually Saturn hits it as well. So that's every 248 years or so, you're going to see Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, both of those planets in Capricorn. But sometimes Saturn misses Pluto and they don't meet again until another 248 years. And so that means that it may be every 500 years that you're going to get the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto. And I say all that to say that we're about to take a look right now at the times that Saturn was conjunct Pluto. And my thought was, before I started this research, I was like, okay, so if we know that Saturn conjunct Jupiter is what we can see, and we know that's the powers that be in the structures of society, then what's Saturn conjunct Pluto? Pluto is what we can't see. It's the invisible world. It's the magnetic underground currents of it all. Possibly the manipulation of it all, but possibly the healing of it all. Pluto can go all ways like that. Such an extreme planet. And I will admit, at the time that I started this research, I started it because there was a part of me that just had some suspicion about what was going on in society. Nothing was sitting right with me. And because Capricorn is the authorities in our life in a lot of ways, authority in ourselves as well, have to take ownership. It's my sovereignty as well. But it really has to do with, again, the powers that be in society. So if we look at it in Pluto, what is it going to tell us? So starting with 0 AD, because we're looking at this Western world Gregorian calendar, this square that we were built on, where they said at 0 AD, Christ was born, Christ consciousness, which is connected to Jupiter. This is what it is. We're going to look at this calendar starting with 0 AD, and we're going to see every time, I'm going to look and see every time Saturn was conjunct Pluto, they were both together in Capricorn. Saturn is conjunct Pluto, and then once we see what that date is, then we look up on Google or any of, I don't know, DuckDuckGo, whatever you want to use. You just do research and you put in that year and you say, what was going on that year? Anything funny, anything that's kind of big, anything that's really manipulative, anything that stands out like, whoa, any like, I don't know, slavery or money types control or I don't know, disease, like mass deaths, anything that stands out. That was what I was just curious about. I had no idea. So the first one that pops up, the first Saturn conjunct Pluto conjunction in Capricorn that we have is in the year 48 AD, 48 and 49 AD. So what happens in this year? Well, this is exciting. First thing that popped up was that the New Testament was written. The Bible was written, the new one. The New Testament was written. This is 15 years after Christ's death. A New Testament was written. The new Bible was written. Okay, so we see that. That's number one. Claudius, he was the leader of the Western world, the European Empire at that time. Claudius was. as far as the Western world is involved, because there were massive other societies that were so advanced and so burgeoning at that time. But Claudius and this movement, they went into all the different places of heritage, of religion, all the books, all the statues, all the monuments, all the information, all the knowledge, all the truth, all the ancient mysteries. They got rid of all of it. They obliterated and massacred it all. And they, burnt it all down and stole it all. This is all the information and empires from like the Middle East and the Israelites and part of Africa, maybe some Asian, Indian, all these richly historic places with all the information. They took it, got rid of any evidence of what the truth was, except the things that they couldn't get rid of, because it's just so strong and it stands forever. Shout out to those ancestors that did that. Shout out. Shout out to astrology as well, because astrology is how the universe and the spirit communicates. It's kind of how God talks. Like, can you hear me? Look at what I'm saying. Look at what I'm saying. So Claudius comes in and takes over all that. Now the question becomes, and there's a lot of ancient technology that they got in this, technology that we just don't have, but yet we have, because Akashic records we are tapping in, and because it has to be made known. They know it has to be made known, the people that have the information now. Catholic Church, who else? There might be a few others too, and the Catholic Church is connected. Dang, I can't believe I said that. That's just what I feel. If I'm wrong, may someone correct me. Who are the other people that hold some of the secret information that is ours? And here's the thing. There's all this ancient technology that I guess they're feeling. One way to positively look at it is that they feel we're not ready. We wouldn't know how to handle it. And sometimes society proves that they don't handle things too well. But also because of all this information, missing information, we are off kilter. There's something that is off. And we can't get our footing correctly because this information has been taken away. So we need it. And who is to say that they are the ones that should have it? And who's to say they have the right consciousness to have this information? But I digress. That is not what we're here for right now. Let's finish on this real quick. So Claudius is going through in 48 AD, when Saturn is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. He is taking over all that information, all that historic indigenous knowledge. And one can say the people that had it at that time, did they steal it from some people? Who stole from who zooming who, like, there's a lot that's been going on over these past thousands of years. Thousands. So another thing to be noted about that time, yes, they're massacring people and lands, but also Claudius is asking to get permission to marry his 14-year-old niece. Yeah, he has to get permission because he's going to the church. He's going to control all the power structures. At that time, the church and the government are kind of synonymous. It's like the same thing. And so he has to get permission. It's slightly frowned upon. But if you're 12 years old or puberty, whichever hits first, 12 years old or puberty, you're allowed to get married. And they go ahead and grant Claudius permission to marry his 14-year-old niece. And her name is Agrippina. And Agrippina, she's seen a lot already, okay? Because she was married at like 12 or 13 to her first cousin. She already has a child by her first cousin. Like, she's already had to see a lot and deal with a lot. This is what's going on at that time. And, but she was supposed to be like really savvy and really political. And let me make sure I have this part right here because this is just so deep here. In order to protect her home and her territory, whenever women would get too close to her husband, her king, she would blame black magic on them. She's like, they're doing black magic. She'd accuse them. And that would get them ostracized and they'd have to fall back because you didn't want to get accused of that. Of all things, you don't want to get accused of that. Why is that such a possibility in the world? It's because at that time in 48 AD, that's what people were doing. What is black magic? There's negative black magic and there's positive. But it's Pluto. It's Pluto all the way. Black magic for negative is when you hurt people. For positive is when you do good and you use it for good. But that's how she'd get people to stop. And what reason why I bring that up is because what I feel and what I suspect, I feel like Agrippina gave us a clue as to the world at that time and what really this society was built on. And although Claudius was killing people and wanted to enforce Christianity, the Bible got written that year in 48 AD when Claudius was in power and marrying his young niece. They were pushing Christianity so hard in a certain type of energy of saying this is what it is, Christ, 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 Jesus, 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 Bible. But on the low, they doing Pluto. They doing Pluto. Agrippina is accusing people of doing Pluto, black magic, because that's scary and it's powerful and they know it. And the powers that be who are starting to get rid of all these ancient structures because they are relics and monuments to black magic, to the powers of other alternative energies of using nature, not black magic for negative, but the power that we have inside us and what we can manifest and what we can really do. They were trying to suppress all of that. They were trying to hold down all of that so that they could keep that information for themselves, so they can hide that into their Catholic and church and whatever domains, whatever church, I don't want to blame just them, whatever powers that be. They want to keep that information to them for themselves. But meanwhile, they're doing it. They're trying to figure it out. And they don't even have full access to it because something in their souls can't fully access the truth of it. The real owners of that information, that historic information, rise up. It is our time to collect that information, but to use it wisely this time. The reason why we fell off of our crown, off of our throne, off of our wall, is because we had been given so many great powers and we abused it. And also just cycles of life. Things end. Cycles just end. New planets change signs, and, well, I don't want to say new planets, but planets change signs, and squares happen, and oppositions happen, and things happen. But also people abuse power, and imbalance happens, and we fall off. So on this first Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, on this first time that we see this in this cube that we have been built upon, what are all the things that we witness in 48 AD? The New Testament is written, the Bible is written, the one that is used to this day. Was it written for good, altruistically? Was it written to have information and all the science and astrology and all the information, the magic hidden underneath it, so the people that have the eyes to see will be able to see it? And when the codes are given, they'll know. And again, the people that can see it, and it was for good? Or was it written to control and enslave and keep a certain consciousness capped, so that these structures and powers that be can rule? When I think about Jesus and what I've learned about Jesus, he studied the ancient mysteries. He studied the powers that they're trying to suppress, that they're hiding. He wasn't for organized religion. He was fighting against that. That's why they killed him. He didn't like the control and what was being peddled by those people. He wasn't for it. So I want to make sure it's known that I'm not against Jesus or the Bible. And Christ consciousness, whether Christ lived or not, Christ lived, because so many billions of people are aware and connected to that Christ consciousness. And it's Jupiter. It is real. And the story of the Bible is based on the story of life and our existence. And so many of our ancestors have written similar stories, because way before the Bible, because it's connected to a truth that is universal and that never ends. So yes, it's all real. But there are other real truths too, and real books and revelations that will be revealed. Okay, so real quick to summarize the 48 AD, we have a Bible that is written for a lot of control, love and healing too, but on some level, there's manipulation in there. People that are running their empires, Claudius. By the way, Claudius had executed his fourth wife before he married Agrippina. So executing women, marrying kids, black magic, massacre, killing of many because of a religion. That's the foundation. That is the foundation. Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, 48 AD, the very first one. That's we need to know that. Okay? All history obliterated of the truth of the foundation of the world. All of it gone, suppressed. And did they suppress it for a good reason? Do we need some type of control? Again, I just don't, I question the people that are handing out the blessings. All right, the next one, let's move on. The next one, after 48 AD, was in 500 years later, 549 AD. 549 AD. What happened in 549 AD when Saturn was conjunct Pluto in Capricorn? Jupiter was actually there too, but Saturn was conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. What happened in 549 AD? Well, there was the Julian plague. The Julian plague in Europe killed millions and millions and millions. Oh man, it was so bad. The head of the empire at that time, his name was Justinian, and he would block off the infested borders from people, wouldn't let certain people in, and y'all are infested and y'all are bad. And Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, okay? Now, in case you don't know this, the reason why we're doing all this is because in 2020, 2021, this whole energy the past couple of years, we've been dealing with a Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. We had the same thing. So we're trying to see what is the pattern, what goes on every time this happens, okay? But we'll get to that in a minute. So 549 AD, there was the Julian plague. It was really bad, and a lot of people died, and people were considered vermin and bad and infested, and yeah, that's what happened that year. Now, the next one was 248 years later in 784 and 785 AD. That's when we have Charlemagne. That's when Charlemagne was doing his thing. And when I say he was massacring people with his sword, he was like, you gonna believe in this damn Christ. You gonna believe in this or I'm gonna kill you. He was killing people left and right. Charlemagne was no joke. He's really what made the Western Empire big. He united all of Europe and just blew them up, and then really merged with Catholicism. The Catholic Church got real involved with Charlemagne, and that's when that's when they were doing it. Now again, they weren't the only ones. There's some powerful people, powerful groups. Let's see, we have Moors, we have the Funan dynasty had just ended a few hundred years before. Japan still popping off. Like Japan at this time won't even talk to the world. Japan didn't start talking to the world till I think the 1800s, I heard, or something. Like Japan's like, y'all don't even know. What are y'all doing? Y'all making up new calendars? Do you not know we got our own thing? Like there were a lot of countries and groups that were doing their thing. But Western civilization, what we in America are built on and connected to, the box that we are sitting on and in, yeah, we're on the Gregorian and we're on the 0 AD Anno Domini, year of the Lord. So if 0 AD is when Christ was born, right now in 2021, this would mean that Jesus would be 2021 years old. It goes every year by his birth. Okay. And that is the world that that's what we're built upon. That is what it is. Okay, so 784, Charlemagne, again, massacres like you won't believe, merges with the Catholic Church real big time, gets Europe and Western Europe to really merge and really establishes this whole society. he sends to marry, Hildegard, young girl. She's like 12 years old. Oh, and I believe she's the one where he had to get permission because she was 12. I believe that's the one. She was young too, like 12. They're all like babies, okay? But he really liked her. They said that he'd be out to war, but he would send for her. Like, where's my Hildegard? Where's my Hilda? She'd come with her diapers on, and she was 12. And yeah, that's what was popping off with her and him. But she was known to be extremely politically savvy and really, really bright as well. And even though when she died young because she gave him like 9 kids in like 10 years. Like she was just, her poor little 12-year-old body had done a lot. And she died young, but she had put a fear in him. She had locked something in him. And she was like, yeah, you can have all those concubines and all those women after me, but don't give the name to anybody else because I want our kids, my children, my bloodline to be the bloodline of the royalty. And he listened to her, even though she died really young. He never gave the bloodline away. He kept it in the family with her. He respected her. And supposedly he made sure that all the females, his female children, were all educated. Like he had respect for women. So that's good to hear. So to sum up, in 784 AD, what do we have? Massacres and over the Bible, over Christianity, killing millions because of Christianity, enforcing it, and marrying kids. Yeah. Can we say that people just died early then? No, they wasn't dying that early. Yeah, she did die early, yeah. But nah. I don't like it. I don't like it personally. But it needs to be addressed because we're dealing with that a lot right now. There's so much with all this Ghislaine Maxwell, and then even way deeper than that. It just goes so deep. If the rule at that time was puberty or 12, so some 10-year-olds that you could convince that were going through a little bit of puberty, a little bit, so you could take them too. Like what's going on? What do we need to discuss? What needs to be healed? What needs to be understood? There's something going on, but that's for another video. Okay. That's 784 AD. Important to know because that's what this square is built on. That's this cube. The next one is 1284 AD. 1284 AD. What do we have? The gold ducat. The gold ducat becomes the money standard for Western society. That's when it starts. That's when the severe money game starts. Now, they had switched up before. There had been some, they had used gold before and they had used silver before. It's gone back and forth in the Western world, Europe and all that. But this gold ducat, this time that they did it, it was in place for the next 600 years. This was what all our money game has been built off of, was this gold ducat. That's 1284, when Saturn was conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. That became the invisible hidden power of the society, is that gold ducat. And even though now that money isn't backed by gold anymore, it's all fiat, and even though that's the case, it's still the people that got in on that gold ducat who established things from back in that day, who were involved in families from when that gold ducat first started popping off as power. It's hard to beat those people. that money is long. I don't care what you do or what we do. That money is long. The people who put that gold ducat and gold standard into play. The money game. That even though, I'm going to harp on it just for a second longer, because one of the things, and yes, I understand that money is just a current, and I have to be positive about it because I need that current. I'm grateful for that current. But too many times in life, I've seen where people who I believe had the real value, who had the real wealth, the real gold ducats, because they didn't have the gold ducats by the material world game, they were shunned because they wanted to focus on their art or their spirituality or their connection with God. They couldn't survive in this world where this gold ducat, which is based on an energy of control and manipulation, it's Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. We could say that maybe they set it up so we could have some type of structure. But because it's gold and it's money and it's not even backed, and I understand that people are like, well, yeah, that's why we're going to crypto. We're going to do this now. We're this and that. And NFTs. And I see the beauty and the joy and the excitement. And again, I want to participate because there are some NFTs that I would love to make. But I just want to make sure it ain't the same invisible structures. It's make sure that no one is controlling us on the low. You might say, how is that even possible with the crypto? It's against that. I could explain that. I could explain how, but I'm going to think positive, and we're all pieces to the puzzle. And again, I need to participate in life, and I need the currency too. So 1284, money game kicks off here in the Western world under the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. Next one, big one. We're almost finny. We're almost finny. The next one is in 1517 and 1518. What happens in that year? 1517 and 1518 AD. A couple of things. But we're going to start with Martin Luther. Martin Luther nailed his 95 thesis. He nailed it to the church or the powers that be. He nailed it to the door, and he was like, look, I don't like how things are going here with this Catholic Church. This isn't religion. This isn't how it's supposed to be. This ain't right. This ain't right. This ain't spirit. Maybe it is religion, but it's not spirit. It's not how it's supposed to be. Okay? And he was especially against what was called indulgences. Indulgences were when the Catholic Church, the priest, if you say you needed to be forgiven for something, you felt bad and you had guilt, he would say, you have to pay me this, or you need to do this task. You need to do this. It was called indulgences. And that's how you got healed. Yeah. The priest was the middleman. And Martin Luther was like, nah, yo, that's not cool. I want everybody to have their own Bible, and I want everybody to have their own connection with God. And the Catholic Church kept bringing him into court and being like, renounce what you're saying. How dare you? And he'd be like, nah, I ain't renouncing nothing. This is how I feel. I want people to have the Bible for themselves. Now, and he was more, it was Protestant, the Protestant era under Christianity started. Protestant, instead of the Catholic Church and all the power under the Catholic Church, it was now the Protestant era. So the thing with Martin Luther is, was he put in place, did he speak, was he there in our history because he really wanted to save us from the Catholic Church? Or was he put there because he knew that regardless of if they're saying, I don't like the Catholic Church, I don't like it, if they're doing the Bible or under the Bible, they're still being controlled by the same energy. Although it might be some type of good energy, albeit the Bible, it's still a certain control. So basically, did the Catholic Church put him out there to do that in a way, to go against them, but still the people feel like they're going against, but they're not going against because they're still doing the Bible regardless? Like, was he some type of imposter to keep that control going, but to make people feel like they were free? Was he put there? Was he a plant? I know that's ridiculous to, but I wonder sometimes. And then what's interesting, you know, recently, and I'm so sorry to say this, but recently in life, people say that Martin Luther King Jr., fast forward to the 1960s, they say that Martin Luther King, who was named after Martin Luther, was a plant in some type of way, an imposter, a plant, because he made the Black people, the indigenous people, the melanated people, sorry. Black can be controversial to say because we're not Black, and there's a whole video that has to be done on that. But sometimes I say Black right now, you all, just to hold a place so people know what I'm talking about, but understand you got to start using our words wisely. Anyway, I'm fighting with myself here. Martin Luther King, what he did though was he got everyone to stay calm, to not fight, to believe in the Bible and to turn the cheek and really believe in that Christ consciousness of no war, just really peaceful. And was that put there? Was he put there? Was Jesus put there? The story of Jesus, not the truth of who he is and what he really wanted, but the story of what they've been pushing, was that always put there to keep us slightly docile and timid? And the thing is, it's a beautiful thing to be in that Christ consciousness. I love it. There's nothing, it's so soothing. It's so soothing. The issue is, are the powers that be playing under the same rules? Are they under the Christ consciousness? Or are they under Pluto? Pluto consciousness, because that's different. The low end of Pluto is, whoa. Is that what's been going on in our society? Is that what's hidden? That's the foundation? That's what's really going on? And they just try to distract us all day? So 1518, Martin Luther nails that 95 thesis. Real quick with the Martin Luther. So in about 500 years, if another Martin Luther shows up, everybody, just, ask a couple of questions. If you're watching this video, I hope you just ask some questions. Be like, are you really for us? Are you really for us? Just, I can't tell. I respect the idea, and I respect the idea of Martin Luther King. I don't want to disrespect any ancestor. I really don't. Just trying to be as honest and keep it real. So let the truth rain down, whatever it may be. And if I need to be corrected, I will be corrected in a nice, gentle way. What else was going on in 1518? Now, this is huge. What else was going on in 1518? So at that time, there was a little bit of slavery already going on already in 1518. Yeah. But that year specifically, King Charles V signed the document that allowed for mass slavery. huge amounts, hundreds if need be. That's when, if you will, if it is in truth, because there's some controversy over this, that's when the transatlantic slave trade, that's when the mass slavery started, was 1518. That's when he signed it. So that's when slavery popped off too. Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn in 1518. That's when the larger mass amounts that can be complained about for real. I mean, no slavery is good, but that's when the big ships came out, supposedly. Now, there's so much more to say about this real quick. First of all, what they needed slaves for was to mine the gold ducat, that damn gold, so that they can make more money, more money, more money. The gold ducat, also for sugar. They needed slaves for sugar and for gold. And the people of Spain, because it's Spain and the Americas, North America, America, Spain, all they needed slaves for quite a few places, but definitely in Spain, they needed them too. And they had been begging King Charles V for African slaves, but he wouldn't. He was like, nah. And the reason why, supposedly, this is what the researchers saying, supposedly, the spirituality of certain, the Africans and the people with the strong bodies that they wanted, the Muslims from the Iberian coast, the Muslims, as well as certain Africans, their spirituality, their religion, the ones that, the divine sciences, they believed in a lot of nature. They had deep, powerful spirituality. They didn't want no parts of any of those people. No parts of any of that. Because they were trying to create a certain land in the new Americas, and they didn't want any of that type of energy. So, and they said specifically in the books that they didn't want that spirituality to rub off on the Amerindians that were in the Americas, the Amerindians. And so you look up what are Amerindians that were already in America, and they say Amerindians were Caribbean type of Americans. What are Caribbean type of Americans? There were Native Indians, yes, but they were Caribbean Americans. That's just indigenous. That's me. So there were a lot of people already in the Americans that were Native American and Amerindian, which were Caribbean Black people, indigenous people, and they didn't want any powerful spirituality rubbing off on these people that were there in the Americas. Because they were trying to strip them of their spirituality. They're already trying to strip them of their spirituality and what they know, whatever they were practicing here in America. They wanted to strip them of that, so they couldn't take the chance of bringing in some more people that are tapped into a powerful spirituality that might be really connected to the people, the Amerindians and the Native Americans that are already here. They didn't want that. And so he had refused for years to allow for Africans or for indigenous type of slaves. But things had gotten so bad and they had run out of people and they needed these gold ducats and they needed this sugar, and the money game had started, and it's more money. You can't stop. You have to keep going. And because of that, they finally agreed, and in 1518, he signed it. Now, here's a mind blower. This is where it just takes some time in in research to just really get all the revelations. And what else am I going to learn in these next few years? What other pieces of the puzzle are people going to put on to this? But the big revelation is King Charles V, the one who really started the mass slavery. If you look him up, if you really research and study deep, he's just as black as he can be. My complexion are a little darker, dapper. He was suave. King Charles V, he's the one that signed it. I couldn't believe that. What we're dealing with is a lot of the powers that be and structures that be. Sometimes they're different than what you expect. There's a whole history that we have to go into, right? That we will in the future, because that rabbit hole is so mind-blowing. That one is deep. What a huge revelation. So what does that mean? Okay, so that's the 1518 one. Slavery actually occurs with Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. We also have the 95 Theses of Martin Luther, who separated from Catholicism and started the Protestant era, but it's still under the same guise. It's still under the same structure. It's still under the Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn cube. That's 1518, you all. And then finally, we get to 2020. 2019, 2020. That's when we had ours. That's when we just had it. Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. We just had it. So if every single time we've seen what occurs when Saturn conjunct Pluto is in Capricorn, what is it this time? What is the energy this time? What is the controlled power? What is the controlled possible manipulation, underground current, underground crime? Or what's the healing? What's the transformation? What is it that occurred in 2020? And it's a long energy. Some of these that we've discussed, they last a couple years at a time. It's going on now. It's now. It's now. So we asked, starting around 2020, 2021, could there possibly be control, manipulation in any type of monetary system, any type of monetary way? What's going on with abuses of power when it comes to sexuality and children and women? Pluto is the hidden goddess, the power of the goddess as well. That's another Pluto archetype to claim. So what is the monetary control? What is the possible slavery? What's the new form of slavery? Is there anything that occurred that can bring about a new form of slavery? Was it just the massacre? Is it what's the new massacre? What's the new religion? What's the new thing, off with your head with the sword if you disagree? What's the new manipulation? What's the new coercion? What's the new, who are the new criminals, the underground, hidden mafia criminals of it all? What are the powers that be that might be manipulating and controlling? What is the plague? We already know, we saw that. Is it just the plague? Is that what it is? Was that the only, is that where Saturn conjunct Pluto and Capricorn played itself out? It gave us a little plague like, I don't want to say little, I'm not discounting any, because this is big, this is huge what has occurred. Is it the Julian plague? Is it that reoccurrence? Is it that pattern? Or is there some type of new age control, a new age religion, slavery, monetary, using all of, is there something else? We see the patterns. We're seeing the patterns. So what do you see? What do you see? What do you feel? What is this platform that we are built upon, and does it feel okay? How do we really want to enact? How do we really want to play out Pluto in Capricorn? What's the real transformation? How do we really want to be Pluto? How do we really want to be Pluto? Is it mass healing? Or is it mass hypnosis, mass psychosis? Is it massacre? A massacre? What? How is this Saturn conjunct Pluto? How is it acting itself out? Because we're in the middle of it now, so we can see, we got to see it. Sometimes it's hard to see because you're right in the middle of it. But have a bird's eye view. Have the type of view of a group of people that will massacre and get rid of all information of the past, all history, everybody's culture, everybody's truth. If that's the block that we're built upon, how is it playing out this time? That's how it occurred every time. If the last one that occurred was when the massive slavery occurred, then what is this one? What is happening this time? This Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. What do we need to see? That's what this video is about. What do you need to see? And what is the power within us? The power that's within each one of us that needs to rise up and transform and step into one's power and crystallize it. Saturn crystallizes that Plutonian energy. It grounds it, it materializes it into this reality, that Plutonic power that resides in every single one of us because it's in our blood. Pluto, again, remember, it's that DNA, it's that bloodline. It can't be erased. I don't know how hard people try. They could try all they want. They're trying to override that code. They're trying to take your essence, but they can't take it. That DNA and that bloodline is too strong, my Nagas. It's too strong. It's too strong. Shout out to the ancestors that wrote the code eons ago. So yeah, how powerful we are. So much is being revealed. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. May we all share our puzzle pieces. May we all speak up now. Don't let them get inside your DNA. Not right now. Too much is popping off. too much is happening right now. Ooh. Transformation for real in the best way. And so it is.